Of medical technology has one remarkable element in common: people. That's why Thomasville Medical Center is dedicated to making sure that treatment has as much to do with how you are treated as it does with the technology we use to treat you. For 24-hour emergency care and nationally accredited chest pain and stroke centers, turn to the people behind the technology.
Thomasville Medical Center.
Remarkable people, remarkable medicine.
Hi everybody, I'm Tommy Brown along with Roger Bryant, and we're bringing you a special presentation today. The Western North Carolina High School Association Championship game from 1964, the first ever for the Thomasville High School. But Roger, it was the Western North Carolina High School Athletic Association, which meant that the state was actually divided into two different organizations. Whereas today you have the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, which covers the entire state, but it was a very special game for the residents of the Cherry City.
Yes, the Western then was a certain group of schools, again in the western part of the state, that formed their own association, and it was made up of about 4 conferences, and they were mainly city schools or town schools, and it was schools that were approximately about 3A size back in those days, but it was a special time and a special organization.
Well, it was coached by George Cushwa, and of course the formerly Memorial Stadium was renamed George Cushwa in his honor. And here we see the roster for the Thomasville Bulldogs back in 1964, and there are several players from this team got special recognition and accomplishments, and several of them went on to college, and some even into the pro level.
Yeah, Charles Bowers was a running back on this team that was very notable, a running back that ended up playing at NC State. And then on this roster here, you got several people around town that are still living today that were on this team. Stan Stiers was on this team, Danny Medlin, Wayne Thrift, some of those guys. The running backs on this team were very, very good runners, of course, to be of this caliber team. Ronnie Byerly, Billy Bobo, of course Charles Bowers, and the quarterback was Mickey Cox. It was a very talented football group.
As we go along here, you can see some of the newspaper clippings that are in the archives of Thomasville High School, and we'll move right along here. And the Bulldogs kicked off a big game with Danville, Virginia, Raj, and that was a non-conference game, but it was what Coach Cushwa wanted to be kind of a spark, if you would, to kind of spark his team on to the best team he's ever had, and a lofty ending.
Yeah, this season was one that they were anticipating because the 63 team had a fine season, had some players returning, and some talented young kids, and they were looking forward to this season. This was a game to kind of see how things were going to start off, see if this season was going to measure up.
Well, they also had a big game. They lost their second game to Asheboro, a conference game, and that was something that they really concerned everybody in Cherry City back at that time. But after this big win against Danville, Virginia, a lot of people thought, well, that'll really get it going. But here comes Asheboro, and gave them really a tough defeat to a team that Cushwa thought was his best team ever.
Yeah, Asheboro had been a thorn in the side for years, and they were a well-coached football team. And this particular team, I think, was a team that Asheboro had that was not a high-scoring football team, but it was able to shut down the Bulldogs. Like you said, it was probably a eye-waking experience for the staff. As a coach myself, I know that when you think you're going to have a great season and you get shut out like that, early like that, two things about it. First of all, you get a chance to turn your season around maybe, but you got to look at your mistakes and try to correct them. And it's an attention getter for sure.
Well, after they rebounded, and one of the big wins was against South Rowan, and South Rowan was one of the top 2 teams in the conference in defense, and that's one reason I think Cushwa thought this might be his best team ever. And another big win that they had was against Reedsville. In that game, they had a 41-6 non-conference victory and piled up 446 yards. Ronnie Byerly, Eric Nicholson, and Stan Stiers both had 2 touchdowns each. And the quarterback, Mickey Cox, had a touchdown himself.
Well, definitely a great win for them to keep things rolling.
And then, of course, you know, they had to beat Concord, which has always been a tough team, the Spiders for the Bulldogs, and that set up a big match in the first playoff game.
Yeah, Mooresville was the North Piedmont Conference champion, I think, and Thomasville ended up being the South Piedmont Conference champion. So this was the first playoff game was kind of like a Piedmont championship.
Well, we spoke earlier, Raj, about the South Rowan game, and one thing that's really interesting about that game is the Bulldogs had to come from behind to pull out a 27-10 win. So this Bulldog team had a lot of poise and a lot of grit about them and never gave up when they got behind.
Well, any great football team has to have the ability to overcome adversity, and even getting over the Asheboro loss, turning that around, and then late in the season when you get behind, turning that around and winning shows great character, as well as for the players and the coaches.
I want to thank Woody Honeycutt for allowing us to go into the archives and do a little bit of filming, get some pictures here from some of the scrapbook there. And of course, the Bulldogs went on to defeat Mooresville and face Hickory, and once again came from behind 20-13 to win the Western North Carolina High School Association's championship.
Well, they were down, what, 13-0 at half, and kind of parallels to the 88 team that Alan Brown coached, I coached with. I mean, you're down 2 scores at half in a big game like that. It's a lot of things are going on at halftime, and I'm sure Coach Cushwa and his staff were really coming up with some ideas, and also trying to motivate the players to hang in there. They'd been behind before, and let's put this last 2 quarters together here and win this thing, and they did.
Well, Ronnie Byerly ended up with 2 touchdowns in the effort, and right here I'll give you the stats for that ball game. The Bulldogs in total yards come up with 323 compared to 166 for Hickory.
Yeah, it's pretty. You look at those stats, it really shows you that Thomasville really overly dominated this football game. When you look at the rushing, the first downs, there's only 1 fumble lost in the ball game. It's pretty dominating on stats. So thankfully, the best team won.
Well, in that effort, Mickey Cox had a touchdown run of 14 yards, and Billy Bobo had the extra point, and Ronnie Byerly had a 39-yard run, and Bobo again with an extra point, and Byerly had another 4-yard run, and the extra point attempt failed. Now, Coach Cushwa always ran. He never kicked at that point in time, I believe. But those are the stats for the 64 championship, and you can see the celebration there by Mickey Cox and Laughlin, and I believe that's Ronnie Byerly there that's celebrating with the trophy. That's John Laughlin. And wanted to take this time Before we let you settle back and watch the game and thank a few of our sponsors, Thomasville Medical Center is a sponsor of our Game of the Week, and we appreciate all they do to help us bring these kind of features to you. Also, After All Auto Repair, 475-2271, located at 811 Fish Ferry Street. MCR Computer Repair, Mike Hughes, the computer doctor, and also Select Homes out of Asheboro, North Carolina, and also Carolina Farm Credit. We appreciate all those people helping us bring this little feature to you on Time Warner Channel 13, iHi.com, Pro Team Sports, and iHi.com/Pro Team Sports. So we want you to just settle back and enjoy the game action, and you'll see exactly what brought that scoreboard right there. And the team actually, Raj, after that game, Thomasville came out as rated #1 team in the state in the 3A classification.
Yes, you can see that here, and you, over a period of years, I've heard it mentioned many times that Thomasville was considered that year one of the best high school football teams in the eastern part of the United States.
Well, Rog, here's the coin toss, and Hickory decided to receive. This game was played at Hickory.
Hickory High School. And a wedge right up the middle, right at them. They're running the wing T looking formation, power play, right at Thomasville.
Now, what kind of defense is the Bulldogs running there?
Well, I have to take a little closer look at it, but some sort of 50 looked like to me. You could, usually if the nose guard is over the center, you're talking about a 50 front.
Looks like they're kind of in the gap.
Have to take a couple of snaps maybe to figure it out. This is the first time I've seen this film.
Oh, we'll just freeze it right here.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 8-man looking front.
So you would think then Hickory's in like a wing T, so you would expect Cushwa's probably thinking, knowing this is going to be a running team.
Yeah, they got a 8-man front. They're like a 6-2 is what it looked like.
Let's back it up and take another look at that touchdown run.
Yeah, it's a 6-2. Put her way off the ball. They run a double handoff, and his kick out blocked with 50 right there, and he gets around the end.
And he is gone. Right now, Hickory's feeling good.
Oh, yeah. He scored that easy early. The first tendency is to think this is going to be a lot easier than we thought.
Yeah, now they're kicking the extra point, and it's good. If you notice, the officials there are just putting their hands up like they did for so many years. Today, they have to, they bow their elbows a little bit.
Well, Thompson started to bring a wall, but he reversed field, and it's a big loss there.
Back inside the 15-yard line.
Yeah, Thomas was in the wing tee. And that's Ronnie Byerly looks like getting that handoff. They're running the wing round. There's the old buck play.
Now explain what the buck play is.
Well, if you run that back, I want to make sure it is the buck, because sometimes we run these things through so fast. If it's a buck, you got to split action.
You're talking about like the cross buck?
Well, yes. Let me see if we can see it again. No, that's not. That's an off-tackle play.
It's kind of similar like a isolation, isn't it?
Well, you're kicking the end out, with a fullback. If it's full flow, which means all the backs are heading in the same direction, that's not a buck.
Now that was Charlie Bowers on that one.
Okay. There's a halfback dive, kind of hitting behind the fullback. There's a fumble. And Hickory's recovered. Things are going Hickory's way. Got the lead in the ball.
This footage, folks, came right off of the 16-millimeter reel.
There's a buck right there. The fullback dove, and then the halfback got the ball going around the end, and you pull your guards out, and that's a buck sweep. We see that today. And there's a fullback play off that action.
The lineman action on that buck play kind of resembles a little bit of the action from a counter trade, doesn't it?
Kind of.
when you see them kind of pulling
Right.
from
But
a spectator standpoint.
it's a sweep, but it's a very powerful sweep. There's a jump pass we saw earlier in some films. Usually that's a jump pass to a tight end. He tries to get right behind the linebackers. The quarterback will jump up in the air and throw over the linebackers. Both teams are running T formation. I mean, derivatives of it. So they're up 2 scores now. They're riding high here, Hickory is. I mean, you got to feel good about their chances at this point.
Now, Hickory just missed the extra point, Rod, so that gave Hickory a 13-0 lead here in the first half. Now, Coach White has his team in the split backs. There's Charlie Bowers.
Yeah, he had a little belly play up inside there.
Now let's look at some of the blocking action on this.
Some good, solid blocking. There's a power play. Penetration got him. Another power play.
These linemen are blocking really low.
Yeah, as we mentioned in the earlier films, the way you had to use your hands, you couldn't block high. You know, you just couldn't.
Now, Cox is back to throw the ball, and he threw quite a bit during this season.
They're going to punt the ball here. Well, all good comebacks come from defense. And the fact that we know already that Thomas is going to shut them out the rest of the ball game, you know, you're not going to come back if you don't stop the other team.
Well, a turnover hurt them there in the last touchdown for Hickory.
Yeah, Thomas was running the 6-2. They're not using a nose guard. They got 2 guys in A gap. And they got the backers up tight, which is very typical of those teams back in those days. There's a belly, ISO belly. Good play. That's a play there with the fullback's getting the ball and the halfback's leading it ahead of him to block the linebacker.
All right, we'll take another look.
Actually, a little twist on it there where the back split a little bit as he was leading ahead. So these T teams, they run a lot of plays that look very similar, but when you look at when you really dissect them, there's little slight differences in the way they're blocking, who's blocking what. When you see them run through, they look similar, but they're really not.
That looked like one of those old cross-butt plays. The backs crisscross.
Here's that play we saw earlier. The backs diving, leading, and the halfback sliding a little bit outside of him.
There's a play action by Mickey Cox.
Yeah. Mickey's a left-handed hurler, as you can see there. There's his bootleg throw out the back door.
Went the other way with it. Triple coverage.
Here's another. This is similar to the score that this team scored on earlier at double handoff, where he double handoff. A lead play.
Now you can kind of expect, look at this, Raj, don't you think that Coach Cushwa wasn't expecting Hickory to throw very much? Look how tight his linebackers are.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're daring them to throw.
Teams played their linebackers closer in those days because you didn't have to deal with a lot of veer blocking as you saw in the 70s, but 2.5 yards was about as deep as you'd see any linebacker on most teams.
We get pressure by the Bulldogs on that play.
Things have settled down here. Thomasville is starting to hold their own a little bit defensively. And with that probably comes a lot of confidence that you can play with this team.
Bowers on another off-tackle play. Ronnie Byerly and Billy Bobo carried most of the load in this game as far as scoring goes.
There's a double handoff of Thomasville right there. Those are risky plays because anytime you hand the ball twice, there's a chance for fumble. This sweep, that's a sweep, and you see the quarterback, Mickey Cox, is actually one of the lead blockers in that thing. He'll toss it back to the back, and he reverses and gets in front of the runner. A lot of power football in this film.
Bulldogs trying to put the hammer down.
Another pass by Mickey. Scrambles. He's a pretty good runner. He got that corner broke down. He hit north. And a play like that sets up the next play, which was a score there. So it's 13-7.
Ronnie Byerly's 22 on the screen. Well, the Bulldogs are showing there's no quit in them. Well, the Bulldogs are fortunate there because I believe the receiver was behind the defenders.
Well, the score at half was not 13-0. So
It was 13-7.
13-7. So there's a correction that we've been able to see by watching this.
You know, this game film, as far as I know, Roger, it's probably the first time it's been seen, or one of the few times it's seen since this championship game was played.
Well, I know I've been around the football up there for over 35 years. It's the first time I've ever seen it, because I'm watching it for the first time now.
We were very surprised. We went back into the archives looking for other games and found this just a couple of weeks ago, and we certainly wanted to bring it to you to open up the this football season. Everybody loves the nostalgia, and you certainly get to see it now, Bulldog tradition style.
There's a double handoff.
I believe that's Billy Bobo, number 26.
Well, there goes Byerly. You can really tell that Byerly, I mean, he's a good runner. He could play today easily. A lot of these guys could play today. Fast and strong and had some moves. So now Thomasville is, did they get the extra point there?
Let's see. I believe they got they didn't get the extra point there. I don't think they got it the next time. It's hard to tell on the film, and we don't have any stats.
It looks like it's 14-13 Thomasville is what it looks like.
Yeah, I think they got their extra point. Well, Bobo got their extra point.
So Thomasville is now ahead
on the next touchdown.
They got the backers really snugged up there on this short yardage play. Wow.
Looks to me, Raj, like they were just trying to get Hickory to throw the ball.
Yeah. It's physical in there. You can see when the backs hit up into the line of scrimmage on those hard hitting plays, you can just see the physicality of it.
Actually, Roger, the second touchdown for Thomasville, they did get the extra point. From what I show here, of course, this is from the newspaper article. Maybe we can get a better look at the scoreboard in just a moment.
We'll see right now we're in the third quarter. Boy, that's a nice run there by Bowers.
Let's see if we can freeze it on the scoreboard next time.
The lights of the stadium is glaring on the scoreboard. It really, film doesn't show it very well. Wow. That could have been 6 if he's just let him a little bit. Underthrew it.
This time he gets sacked. Another pass. A lot of people, you know, thought that Cushwa would never pass the ball, but he certainly did this particular season. The way the stats ran from the article after the game, it showed Thomas getting 7 points in the second, 7 points in the third quarter, and 6 points in the fourth quarter.
That's not what the film is showing, is it?
No, it's not.
So,
the Bulldogs are showing that they're willing to air it out to open up the running game.
you can tell one thing about this football team. You can tell that Mickey Cox is a good general back there, just the way he's poised going to the line of scrimmage.
Now your punter is Charlie Bowers.
The quarterback from Hickory's got good form. He looks like he could play at a higher level with his form. I don't know what kind of arm he's got up the field, but that was a nice pass he completed there.
Those linebackers right stacked in there. He's going to get some heat. Oh, there was a better look at the scoreboard, Raj. It's 13-14, as you can see there.
Right.
So
Thomasville got the lead in the third quarter, and they're trying to hold on and try to add to it.
you see how tough Charlie Bowers was running up through there.
He's got a little extra giddy up when he gets past the line of scrimmage in there. You got to hold on to him.
There's Billy Bobo.
Looks like that this crowd from Hickory might be getting just a little bit wore down a little bit. You begin to see these backs are now getting 3 yards a clip. I mean, a matter of time one of them breaks one.
Now, Raj, you see that Bowers run there, got a little different wrinkle in the backfield.
Yeah, it's almost like a double slot. They moved the halfback up into a position where he can get up in the line of scrimmage to add as a blocker from a little tighter position.
Mixing it up just a little bit. Really mixing up their plays in that backfield.
These offenses, almost all of them that are effective, have real good guard play. You have to have guards that can pull and block and seal. And you see in this quite a bit on film here. These guys pulling, doing some twist in there to get an advantage.
7:36 to go at this point in the fourth quarter. There's Bowers.
Your fullback starts hitting in there and getting positive yardage, it just makes it, it's almost a sure death. You can't get him slowed down because the other backs will eat you up eventually. There's Cox running the ball.
See him motioning for blockers.
Right. He's pretty quick.
.548 to go.
Mississippi. That was the extra point, Tom.
Yeah,
the
that
play
was
before, you might want to run back. That was actually the touchdown. The referees, we didn't see their hands go up.
Yeah, we were looking for it. It didn't happen. So here we go. We'll take another look.
It's third down play. And this is Byerly.
Byerly into the end zone.
Yeah, the referee just don't see his hands go up. And this is Bobo on the try here. It doesn't get in.
Stopped a little bit short. It's right there at it. The official started to spot the ball before, and the other official says it's extra point.
That was big stop for Hickory because now they're just down a touchdown. So,
another thing interesting to note too, Raj, is at that point in time you run the extra point. You didn't get 2 points. You got only one, just like kicking it.
Right. That's correct.
Now,
they had the distance to the goal line was different than it is now.
You see now, Roger, Bulldogs have taken Hickory out of what they like to do. Went to the pass on that last play.
Right.
As you see now, they're going back to the pass again. Good defense by that number 51.
Now you want to burn some clock.
Yeah.
You can smell it now. You got 3 minutes to go. You got the ball around midfield, or they're across the 50, and there's should be a face mask.
Yep.
I don't know if they got the call or not.
Yeah.
Grab him with the helmet.
Yeah. Bubba gets up and says, "You got me by the mask." There's Byerly.
You're wanting to burn clock. You're wanting to hold on to the football. You want to run that clock out. Minute 41. Got to be getting excited. Your heart's in your throat.
You know the crowd's on their feet now, both sides of the field. Hickory's wanting to get the ball with a last breath chance here.
Even the cameraman's getting nervous. Everybody from Thomasville is just you can feel it. 46 seconds to go.
Even the people like me back in the day on the radio listening. Here's Cox getting it to Byerly, trying to run the clock out.
And a penalty.
Now Bulldogs still trying to figure it out. And you can see Cox going back. Let's take another look. Cox is talking to his backfield, telling them what he's going to do. Try to run this clock out.
He's got him in a straight T back there, which is he broke it right there. Started and then broke it.
Got Bobo on the wing. And they were coming right away. Nailed Byerly.
The one thing you don't want to do is not run out of bounds. So they're trying to run plays to keep the ball in the field.
And Raj, we'll back it up on second there. There's 32 seconds to go in this game. Cox trying to eat some time, but he ran out of bounds, which stopped the clock with 25 seconds.
Not good.
Now he's going to keep the ball and circle the wagons.
He handed that one back to Byerly. Now it's fourth down.
Yeah. I believe this is where he tries to eat the ball and run the clock out.
So now the other team's got the ball.
With 18 seconds left, comes down to this. And we get an interception. And here's the celebration, Roger, in 1964.
There's people there in that crowd, Tom, that have been waiting on serious football all of their lives at Thomasville High School. People like Kermit Cloninger and people like that who are instrumental in bringing George Cushwater to Thomasville. And I can imagine the gratification that these guys had of seeing that program come to this point.
Well, folks, right there's the celebration, the 1964 state championship for Thomasville, the Western North Carolina High School Athletic Association. And Raj, that's where it all began for Thomasville. In fact, George Cushwater said in one of the articles after the game in an interview that he felt like 1961 was where the Thomasville football tradition actually began.
Yes, Coach Cushwater brought in to Thomasville a positive attitude, the attitude that we're going to work to get better, and above all, he brought in a system of which kids could learn to play the game and work to get better at it. And it just changed the whole attitude of the high school and the town. And to this day, the stadium's named after him. I've coached, I played under Coach Cushwater and Coach Brown, and all of these years right here can point back to those early 60s right there, to the football that was established at that point, we can have successful program to this day.
Well, folks, that's the way it is. We hope you enjoyed this presentation, and what a great tradition it is, Thomasville Bulldog football, and it was at its finest on this date in 1964. For Roger Bryant, I'm Tommy Bryant. Have a great rest of the weekend, everyone. I'll make you a copy of this other one we did. But, I didn't realize it because I didn't watch it all.